Melinda was given a restriction court order to stay away from her husband and his new wife, but she violated the order. The judge, however, showed her mercy. Instead of jail time, she was ordered into mandatory therapy sessions. At first, Melinda refused to open up. Her anger clouded everything. She told the therapist that Robert, her ex-husband, owed her everything he had. She said she had been strong for him when he was weak, and weak when he needed her strength. She had given him everything, yet in the end he betrayed her. And for that, she had every right to be angry. Slowly, Melinda began to explain, starting from the very beginning. She was in college, rushing to her hostel when she first crossed paths with Robert. Their first encounter was tense. Later that day, Robert returned her misplaced notes. At first, Melinda dismissed him, but Robert had gone through her papers and corrected her mistakes. He even explained how their lecturer preferred things to be structured. It was then Melinda realized how smart he was. Her anger faded, and suddenly this tall, handsome man looked different in her eyes. The two began studying together. Soon after, Robert revealed his grand idea, a self-recharging battery. If successful, it could power cars, homes, everything. He told her it would make them unimaginably rich. Melinda never suspected that behind his dreams lay the seeds of a toxic future. Tragedy struck when Melinda's sister came with devastating news. Their mother had died. Heartbroken and desperate for comfort, Melinda leaned on Robert. He was there, mourning with her, though her sister didn't like him one bit. To them, Robert was just a broke dreamer. Then Devin entered the picture. Brenda, Melinda's sister, introduced him as Melinda's boyfriend, though in reality he was her ex. The humiliation cut Robert deeply. He left early, but Melinda followed him. That's when she learned the truth. Robert lived in a van. Inside, he opened up about his past. His father was in prison. His mother had abandoned him. Raised by his grandmother, he was left with nothing when she died when he was just 14. Since then, he had been living in that van. His story broke Melinda's heart. Still reeling from her mother's death, she saw herself in his pain. He made her feel strong, even beautiful, at a time when she was vulnerable. Her grief blinded her. Not long after, she was already sleeping with Robert. Later, she would confess she felt he had taken advantage of her fragile state. Her sister warned her Robert was only taking from her, but Melinda wouldn't listen. When her mother passed, she left Melinda a house and $350,000. She made the mistake of telling Robert. Soon after, he pointed to a penthouse in the city, promising her one day he would buy it, and even a cruise ship too. She believed him. Robert had a gift. He could make Melinda think everything was for her. She bought him a car, but soon after she was the one chasing him. He didn't even call for 2 days. Then came the breaking point. After her sister got married and moved out, Melinda visited Robert unexpectedly. She parked across the street, watching from her car. What she saw broke her heart. Robert was cheating. Rage consumed her. She floored her car and rammed it into his van, again and again. Robert rushed out, begging her to stop, but in the chaos, Melinda slammed against the steering wheel and blacked out. The crash left her with internal bleeding. Worse, she lost her womb, and she was not even 21. As she recovered, her sister urged her to leave him. But Melinda needed answers. Robert apologized, swearing it would never happen again. Despite everything, she still loved him. When he proposed, she said yes. She even paid his tuition. Her sisters were furious. Robert had betrayed her, but Melinda refused to see the truth. They boycotted her wedding. Years rolled by. They stayed in her mother's house, with Robert forever needing just a little more money for his battery supplies. Bills piled high. Melinda worked 2 jobs. Robert kept chasing Prescott and Howard Company, begging them to listen to his pitch. But every letter was ignored. Melinda slaved away, working early mornings, late nights, just to keep the house. Robert, he slept in. She was exhausted. Still, she held on. Then one day, Robert showed her his invention. Their entire house ran on his battery. For a moment, hope sparked, but then the battery exploded. Repairs cost more than they could afford. Finally, graduation came. Robert had an interview that promised a salary of at least $150,000 a year. But one by one, every company turned him down. His past haunted him. Arrested at 15, charged as an adult. No company wanted to hire a convict. Still, Robert begged Melinda not to give up. He swore Prescott would one day see his battery. She mortgaged the house to keep them afloat, but the weight of life grew heavier. 18 years of marriage, no child, and no joy. Then fate twisted again. At Prescott, Robert met Diana, the same woman he had cheated with years ago. Now, she was the managing director. Robert begged for help getting to Mr. Prescott, but she only gave him her card. "Strictly business," she said. Not long after, Prescott's lawyers called. Robert was banned. If he wrote or stepped near their buildings again, he would be arrested. 18 years of chasing a dream, gone in a moment. Melinda told him to wake up, get a job, and face reality. The battery would never work. But Diana had already seen Robert's videos of his invention, and soon everything would change. Melinda's sisters had finally learned the truth. The house was mortgaged, and the bank was ready to repossess it. Furious, they demanded Robert get a job. To save the home, they begged their boss for help, and he agreed to advance their salaries. With that, the mortgage could be covered for 3 months. Robert reluctantly agreed to take a delivery job, but behind closed doors, Melinda confided in her friends. It had been months since she and Robert had been intimate, and she knew him well. He was a very sexual man. Deep inside, she feared the truth. Was he cheating again? Robert's delivery job seemed promising at first. But one day, Melinda discovered something that confirmed her worst fear: Diana's wallet in his vehicle. Meanwhile, Robert received a call from Diana herself. She had shown his research to Mr. Prescott, and for the first time in nearly 2 decades, Robert had a real meeting. His dream was about to come true. In a frenzy, he rushed home to grab his prototype. But in doing so, he abandoned a critical delivery, one that his employers depended on. His actions could ruin their entire business. That same day, Melinda's sister stormed into her workplace with devastating news. Robert was cheating. Melinda rushed home in rage and found Robert there. He explained about the Prescott meeting, but she didn't want to hear it. To her, this was just another excuse to keep seeing Diana, the same woman he had cheated with before. Robert swore it was business, but Melinda gave him a final warning. If he walked out that door, he should never come back. But Robert's dream meant more to him than her ultimatum. He left. Blinded by fury, Melinda attacked him. Brenda had to intervene to stop the fight. At Prescott, Robert finally gave the pitch of his life. They offered him $800,000 for his research, but Robert refused. His invention, he claimed, was worth billions. He wouldn't sell. When he returned home, he swore to Melinda that he had not cheated. He explained Diana had only reappeared because of business, and the wallet was an accident. He even revealed that Prescott had offered him money, but Melinda was exhausted. Tired of the lies, tired of the sacrifices. She ended the marriage. Robert spiraled downward. He found work as a hotel cleaner, but he was homeless, sleeping on the streets. Melinda, meanwhile, moved in with her sister. Months later, Brenda introduced her to Devin. For the first time, Melinda was with a man who took care of her, but she couldn't escape her bitterness. She wanted back every dollar she had wasted on Robert. Finally, the divorce was sealed. Robert couldn't afford a lawyer. In court, he apologized for failing her and swore once again that he had never cheated. The judge finalized it. Melinda was free. Robert confided in Diana, telling her about the divorce and how he had been living in a shelter. Devin even offered him a place to stay. Meanwhile, Melinda celebrated her newfound freedom with Devin. But the passion she once had with Robert was gone. Deep down, the thought of Robert with another woman tore at her. Then everything changed. Prescott gave Robert a contract. His dream had finally come true. He was now part owner of the company. Robert went to see Melinda, dressed in a new suit, carrying flowers. But instead of anger, he showed gratitude. He thanked her for supporting him, for standing by him when no one else did. Then he handed her a check for $10 million. Despite the divorce, he bought back her mother's house and returned it to her. Melinda was stunned, bitter. When she showed her sisters, they were speechless. Robert had made it. But instead of joy, Melinda lashed out, blaming them for destroying her marriage. Driven by jealousy, she went to Robert's new home, the very house he once promised to her. Melinda told him she still loved him, blaming her sisters for their breakup. For a moment, it seemed reconciliation was possible. But then Diana walked in. "Babe," she called out. Melinda's heart shattered. Everything Robert had promised her, he had now given to Diana. The wealth, the luxury, the love. It was all hers. Rage consumed Melinda. She couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep. She stalked Diana's every move online, watching her flaunt the life Melinda believed was rightfully hers. Fueled by obsession, Melinda dragged Robert back to court, demanding half of his fortune. But the evidence was clear. The deal was struck after their divorce. He owed her nothing. Worse, the court uncovered the threats she had sent to Diana. Once again, Melinda was ordered into therapy, and a restraining order was issued. But Melinda couldn't let go. One day, stepping out of therapy, she saw it. Robert and Diana's wedding. Watching them exchange vows ignited something dangerous inside her. If she couldn't have the life she was promised, no one would. She followed them, waited, stalked until the opportunity came. Diana stepped away to fetch champagne. Suddenly, Melinda emerged, pointing a gun at Robert. Through gritted teeth, she accused him of betrayal, of giving Diana everything that should have been hers. Robert begged her to stop, reminding her that she was the one who asked for the divorce. But Melinda snapped. She pulled the trigger. The gunshot echoed. Robert fell. Diana rushed back in horror, only to have the gun turned on her. Melinda demanded the wedding ring, claiming she had earned it through years of sacrifice. But in a final act of defiance, Robert shoved Melinda into the water, urging Diana to flee. Melinda resurfaced, dragging an axe along the floor. She hacked at Robert's leg as he tried to escape, but fate had the final word. Robert's foot triggered a mechanism, releasing the boat's anchor. The heavy chain wrapped around Melinda's leg, pulling her under. She thrashed, gasping for air, until the water swallowed her whole. Robert collapsed, his life fading from the gunshot wound. By the end, both were gone.